Important. December 30th, the WHO, they discover an unknown virus with pneumonia-like symptoms that was first observed in the Wuhan province area of China. January 7th, the coronavirus was first identified. That's of this year. By January 31st, 3 weeks later, the president, the Trump administration, declared a public health emergency. Americans abroad were then subject to mandatory quarantines on military bases. On February 2nd, the president ordered a temporary travel ban for all non-U.S. citizens who recently visited China. In the days that followed, the president formed a task force filled with the top scientific medical professionals in the country, led by the Vice President of the United States. February 29th, that travel ban was extended to Iran. On the same day, the State Department issued new travel restrictions to Italy and South Korea. Also on the 29th, the FDA cut regulations, allowing more rapid testing, more capacity for coronavirus. March 2nd, President Trump met with pharmaceutical executives. These meetings now will come into a broader picture of what was going on. March the 3rd, the administration ordered the CDC to lift all restrictions on testing. March the 6th, the president, he signed an $8.3 billion emergency spending package into law. On March the 10th, the president met with insurance industry representatives. Remember, they agreed to waive co-pays for corona-related treatment. On March the 11th, he met with banking and business executives to discuss economic relief for those businesses directly impacted by the virus and hourly workers, the same thing. On the same day, he extended the temporary travel ban to all of continental Europe. These travel bans were critically important. Why? Because it prevented many other Americans from getting infected or contracting this virus. Take a look.
Our aggressive containment strategy, has it started early enough to avoid that peak that Italy is experiencing?
As I mentioned, there are two components of that. There's preventing from without to in, and there's what you do mitigation in. Clearly, early on, we made a travel ban with regard to China. That was a very smart move right there, because what that did was prevent a major influx from China. Today, the new China is Europe.
By the way, breaking just moments ago, President Trump just announced his support for the congressional coronavirus relief package. We'll have more on that coming up. Dr. Fauci is exactly right, but will anyone in the media mob, the Democratic Party, have they given the president any credit for anything he has done? Not one thing. In February, there he was, quid pro quo Joe, other top Democrats. President implements a travel ban he's called hysterical and xenophobic. And neither Biden or Bernie Sanders would have ever enacted the ban, and they're bragging about it even still today. Old school, old model, bureaucrat, swamp thinking. In fact, for more perspective, let's take a look at the H1N1 pandemic. Swine flu, 2009, 2010. Yes, the Obama-Biden years. This fast-spreading pandemic worldwide, particularly deadly to children, unlike corona, which is more deadly to older people. In April of 2009, yes, Obama and Biden years. A few days after the pandemic was detected in the U.S., Obama's HHS secretary declared a health emergency, freeing up some money. I'll give credit. That was a good move. By October of 2009, well, more than 20,000 Americans had been hospitalized, and more than 1,000 American citizens were dead. 1,000. And only then, 6 months later, did then President Obama finally declare a national emergency. That year, the CDC estimated 60.8 million Americans were infected, which ultimately resulted in over 274,000 Americans being hospitalized and nearly 13,000 Americans in a one-year period dying. Worldwide, about upwards of 575,000 people died in 2009 from swine flu, H1N1. The Obama-Biden administration, or as Joe says, the Biden-Obama administration, they never enacted a travel ban, not once during the H1N1 pandemic. There were no quarantines. They weren't quick to act to declare an emergency. 1,000 Americans were dead. And by the way, others were infected. Now, the media mob, how did they react back then? Do you think they were going as hard as they are against Obama and Biden as they've been going after Trump?